What's up, Cats fans? Paul here from the Hoops Crew to react to our round 19 loss at home to the Western Bulldogs. It's not great. We've come off the back of 3 wins in a row. Things were looking pretty good. A lot of the buzz was getting right up there again. Chris Scott had been talking about how our recent 3 games had been better than what we'd seen from the 7 wins at the beginning of the season. Things were looking pretty ship-shape for us. And we got a pretty harsh reality check tonight against the Dogs, who are certainly up and about at the moment and certainly playing some really good football. And we just didn't bring it tonight. We got pretty comprehensively smacked. And honestly, this scoreline flatters us a little bit. We were never in it. They had 30 shots to 13 on goal. They missed some really, really easy shots. It should have been a 60, 70-point win, to be honest, at least. But it is what it is. Certainly protected our percentage a little bit, and we'll take that. As things stand right now, I record this early Sunday morning, and we currently sit 4th on the ladder, but we've got 2 games that certainly involve teams that are vying for our spot to come today, and I would expect that we can drop as low as 6th as things stand right now. But that's all stuff that's beyond our control right now. Let's focus on things that were within our control, which was this game against the Dogs, where we went down by 47 points. The Worm, let's take a quick look at it. We stayed in the game, and to Geelong's great credit, we couldn't help that the Dogs were missing shots up to that point. All we could do was take our opportunities when they emerged, and we were whenever they came along. We kicked fairly accurately, and we kept ourselves in it up till 3/4 time. But we just couldn't. Like, the Dogs kept us at arm's reach basically all game. And eventually, as you can see, kind of halfway through the last term there, finally started to pull away. They got a bit of momentum. You could see the Cats drop off. The intensity dropped. The way we had to play had to change at that particular stage. We started to kind of go all, chips in for a little while there. And that's very much one of those cases where it either works or you get blown out of the water. The latter occurred and the game was over. So that's the Worm. Before I really jump into the stats, I wanted to, and I'll bring them up just so that I'm ready to go. But before I really jump into the stats, I want to take some time to kind of, I guess, explore some of the match committee work this week. I think there were some pretty poor decisions that were made about around selection committee this week, and even decisions made in the hours beforehand regarding the weather and who was or wasn't going to play. Now, Tom Atkins was dropped, and apparently there's potential from what I was hearing on K-Rock on the way to the game, from the game. I can't remember now. There's some talk about maybe a hamstring that might be causing some issues there. And if that's the case, obviously there's nothing we can do about it. He was a big loss for us going into the game. That really sucks. The decision to keep Shannon Neal out is certainly one that's really bothered me. Obviously, they were trying to make a selection based around the weather and the expectation that it was going to be really slippery, and it certainly was in areas. And I've not seen GMHBA chopped up that badly in quite some time. It was a mud pit in certain sections. It wasn't great, and I think obviously the VFL game beforehand did not help. But my concern is, like, we made some poor decisions around tools going into this game. Shannon Neal coming out now, I think really, really hurt us. Yes, he's not necessarily going to be the best below his feet, but the tools don't get any smaller as the game goes on. We had the opportunity to stretch them height-wise in our forward line and didn't take it. I could imagine, say, a Rory Lobb or a Buku Kamas having to go to both Jeremy Cameron and Shannon Neal, but instead they were able to play on our, what should have been our 3rd or our 4th tools in Gary Rowan and Ollie Henry. And with Jeremy Cameron being comprehensively beaten by Rory Lobb on the night, we had no options to go to at that particular point. We didn't bring the ball in over, to the forwards overly well, and I'll discuss that shortly too. But we didn't give them a chance. Meanwhile, on the defensive end, the Dogs loaded up, and we knew they weren't going to drop any of their tools. We knew that Sam Darcy, that Jamara, that Aaron Norton, they were all going to play in the forward line. They were going. Now, what they did do for the first half is they kind of rotated 2 of them on. It felt like especially oh damn it, I've just dropped his name and he's gone completely blank on me. as soon as Aaron Norton and Sam Darcy kind of swapped back and forth a little bit in that first half, it didn't seem like the two of them were coexisting on the ground at the same time. But certainly in the third and fourth quarters, they started to really load up and stretch us because it was so obvious that we could not match their height. No disrespect to the defenders who fought manfully. They really, really tried, but they were stretched. Like, Sam Darcy's not the biggest unit in the world yet. He will be. But there was nothing that Jack Henry could do on a few instances to stop him because he just couldn't get around him. He couldn't outreach him. He was outpointed on several occasions. He would get the support from Zach Tui coming back into the contest, and there was nothing we could do. And we persisted with Sam de Koning in the ruck, who did a great job. Don't get me wrong. Like, he got 20-odd disposals. And I think Tim English's numbers probably don't paint the rosiest pictures to how influential he was on the game. I think he did have Sam de Koning's measure, despite a few statistical measures favouring Sam. But we didn't give our defenders a chance. We really empowered their forwards. And then when it turned out that the weather wasn't as bad as expected, they've got to play a bit of dry weather football with a forward line that was easily able to outpoint our defenders. It was really poor team selection this week. And Reece Stanley played a pretty good game in the seconds. He could have come in, played the ruck role. That would have allowed Sam de Koning to go back. We would have been able to support our defenders a bit more. I'm not saying that Reece would have dominated, and I think, Reece has been rightly kind of on the sidelines a little bit over the course of this season. But I think he was the right one. He had to come in to give our defenders a chance, and he didn't. And then Shannon Neal not playing either. Like, we went small, and it was a very, very poor decision. So that aside, let's move on to some of the statistical measures. As expected, the Dogs have always been good at getting their hands on the ball. Their midfield is elite. They possess the ball much more than us, and used it by hand very, very well over the course of the night. But disposal efficiency for us is what did us in. And it really shows here with both disposal around the ground, disposal inside 50. It was as low as 30% to about 60% for us in comparison at one point. The numbers were always going to be down. Wet weather football does that. But this was particularly bad, and I think that's only kind of inflated by the fact there was a bit of kick to kick at different stages of the game as we were trying to cross the ball, swing the ball from side to side, and try and find an opening. It really didn't work very well for us at all. I'm shocked at the free kick count. I'll talk about free kicks a little bit later on because I really there were issues with the umpiring genuine issues that I think I've got with the umpiring, but that wasn't the reason why we lost. And I hate kind of being the umpire excuse person. And it's not an excuse. The umpires aside, we completely blew it over the course of the night, and deserved to lose, as I said, by more. But the umpires were a factor. Clearances. Look, I'm surprised. I think what Geelong does very, very well is, and we see this week to week, the stoppage clearance game, we do better. I think once we've had the opportunity to get some of the troops out there, we can position ourselves and play the game better from that spot, but we get smacked in the center clearances. It's a weekly sort of thing. Don't know what to do to fix it. I just don't know what to do to fix it at the moment. I hope Bailey Smith wasn't put off by seeing that performance against his current team. Possession kind of mirrors what I was talking about with disposals and those sort of things before. Our turnover game, again, linking to the efficiency from before, we were awful in that regard. Both teams were always going to be worse because of the conditions. That wasn't okay, though. Turns out the Dogs even beat us in the marking game in the end. I'm sure we had them covered by a long way at one point, but that swung pretty hard. And the marks inside 50, mirroring exactly what I said before. We played way too small. We didn't give ourselves a chance, and look what happened. All right. The rest is all scoreline, defensive pressure. Not good enough considering we're getting smacked. That really, that number should be much higher. The Dogs brought it. The Dogs brought it in every facet of their game. And kudos to the Dog supporters. If they make the finals, and they are part of the big crush of teams that includes Geelong that are vying for these top 8 spots. If they make it, they're going to be dangerous. They're going to be really dangerous. If the form that we've seen the last couple of weeks and what they may or may not deliver against Sydney next week is anything to go by, they're going to be a scary team if you have to play against them. Let's move on to some of the player numbers. No, actually, I'll quickly address the umpiring before we move on to some of the individual player numbers. There was some abysmal, absolutely awful decision making last night, mostly non-decisions. And I know that when the conditions are what they were like last night, there's an inclination to let things go a little bit more. But there was some unbelievable holding the ball decisions and non-marks that were paid over the course of the night. The Dogs seemed to get the rub of the green when it came to the umpiring. They got the rub of the green when it came to just the way the ball bounced. They had a lot of luck on their hands over the course of the night. Again, we absolutely deserved to lose by 60, 70 points, and not because of the umpiring, but it was pretty awful. The umpiring was abysmal, but apparently it's the best it's ever been. So let's just not question that any further because the AFL has it all in hand. All right. Individual stats. Now we did see this. I think it was pretty apparent. Like the midfield group, the Tom Stewarts, the Max Holmes, they got their hands on the ball plenty. Mitch Duncan got his hands on the ball plenty, but I think was relatively ineffective and certainly hacked it on a few occasions. Cost us a few opportunities at critical points in the game. I love Mitch Duncan. I've been a big supporter even when people have been coming after him in recent years. Tonight wasn't a good night for Mitch Duncan. He fought manfully. Cannot question the effort, but he hacked it a little bit in very un-Mitch Duncan-like ways. Zach Tuia, from my mind, was the best on the ground. Did an amazing job defensively. Pushed and pushed, fought and fought all night. And congrats to Zach. He did a great job. But yeah, it was a tough night for him, having to try and plug as many holes he could. And he just doesn't have enough fingers to plug all those different holes that we leaks that we sprung around the ground. Shawnee Manor got his hands on the ball a bit more than I realized, but like the clearance numbers were great. He was a real force throughout the course of the night. I was very, very happy with how Shawnee Manor was performing. Jack Bowes, I usually pump up Jack Bowes. He got his hands on the ball a bit more than I would have thought. If I could get like a quarter by quarter breakdown, I'd be keen to see it. I wonder if there's a bit of junk time stuff there because he was a non-factor for me, especially in the whole first half. Had a really quiet game. Came into it later clearly, but yeah, he was down. Brian Myers struggled over the course of the night. We love Brian here, but just he was relatively ineffective, very well held by the Dogs. They made a lot of decisions. Like their coaching team made a lot of decisions over the course of the night that really nullified a lot of our key players. Lawson Humphries was a little bit down. His efficiency wasn't quite what. Well, I mean, I'll check the numbers because I could end up wrong here. But certainly the eye test, and I was at the game. It's the first game I've been to since Easter Monday. It feels like Lawson was blunted a little bit, yet he was one of our best on the night from the looks of it. Yeah, he's one of the best on the night. Good to see, I guess. Let me bring that back. Let's just bring up disposals again. Look, the disposal figures aren't the key metric when you're playing against the Dogs because that's what they do so well. But it certainly helps, right? Disposal efficiency. It helps. We couldn't dispose of it very well, and we couldn't get our hands on the ball. There were a lot of scenarios where there were dump kicks out of a contest, which both teams were doing. And this is where I go back to kind of the rub of the green stuff, not the umpiring, but just the bounce of the ball sort of stuff. Both teams were kind of dump kicking it out of contests, and it just kept falling in the arms of Doggies players, and then they set up so well around the contest that they were able to, if it was, a 10-meter dump kick that landed in someone's chest, they already had players slingshotting off the half-back line ready to go. Their intercept game was amazing over the course of last night. Buku Kamas, and I'll check his numbers because he cut us to ribbons. I think he was probably the best on the ground as far as I'm concerned. No, actually probably behind Rory Lobb, who absolutely destroyed Jeremy Cameron on the night. And I will talk about Jeremy. He did not look interested from moment one. He didn't look interested in playing a different game. He didn't look interested in adapting to the conditions. He wanted to play. I'm hesitant to say it because I don't want to sound like a bit of an arsehole about it, but he looked as though he wanted to play a pretty bruise-free game. Didn't want to get too much mud on the jersey, that sort of thing. And Rory Lobb thrived in it. Now, I would say, and this goes back to the midfield thing, that we did not, considering that we went smaller, we kept dumping the ball inside the forward 50 with long bombs. We didn't deliver in a way that would suit our forwards. And so maybe Jeremy Cameron's output and the way he kind of projected himself on the night was because he was frustrated with his teammates. But you got to put up a bit more fight than what he did. It was a really disappointing performance from Jeremy. The others didn't stop trying. I couldn't question the effort from the players over the course of the night. They didn't play great games. There was quite a few that were pretty rough, but They just couldn't get it done. They were just outclassed by a better team on the night. I wanted to shout out Ted Closey and what he did in the final term coming on. He put in a really great effort for that last quarter. Had a shot on goal that would have brought us nice and close early in the quarter there. Very, very physical. Brought the heat. Brought the contest. Made an argument to remain in the team next week. It's going to be a bit tricky with the likes of Tanner Bruin on the way and potential other changes that we might need to make as well. But I think he enhanced his reputation, which is obviously quite small at the moment. He's barely played for the Cats up to this point. But I was impressed with what Ted Closey did with the quarter that he had. Ollie Dempsey had a very rare bad game. He just couldn't find the ball for the most part. The bounce of the ball didn't work out his way. The linking game from the Cats was poor, so he wasn't able to get involved. That he really plays that role. Things did not suit him, and a few of those similar players. Brad Close, I think, had a pretty good game considering, but really, I think, was kind of struggling by nature of what was going on with these teammates. Brian Myers, I touched on him before. I think he suffers in the same way. These linking players couldn't link because the way that we were trying to dispose the ball around the ground did not suit that game, did not suit the conditions, did not suit our forwards and those who need to deliver it to them. We were trying to launch the ball inside 50 from 80 meters out rather than get to 50 or 60 and then lace someone out. It was very poor decision-making from the Cats, very poor decision-making from the coaching staff. We couldn't adapt to the conditions. We let ourselves down. Cats fans, that's where I'm going to leave things for now. I'm going to try and cut my whinging off there. It was a very, very disappointing night for the Geelong Football Club. I will just acknowledge very, very briefly, I've seen a couple comments, namely from one person in the comments section on the Hoops Crew last night off the back of Ben's video, complaining about the lack of post-game live. We apologize for the lack of post-game live. Ben is having some significant technical issues at the moment that stop him from even having a computer right now. He couldn't do it. And then myself, personally, this is the first game I'd been to since Easter Monday. For me, it's an hour and a half drive. I also had my dad with me. I didn't get home till 1 a.m. I'm not jumping in. I suspect most people aren't joining a post-game live at that particular point. So please just think a little bit before you throw negativity around like that. I know we're all a bit frustrated off the back of a loss. Not acceptable behavior. Please, we are all better than that. On that note, though, let's end a bit more positively again. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting the Hoops Crew in recent weeks. The support, the numbers have gone up and up and up. The engagement's been great. The comments have been awesome. Consider checking out the Patreon for a whole range of other exclusive content. I'm finally back at it. I've managed to finally shake that flu that I've had for about a week and a half. So I'm good to go again. You're going to start to see more scratching posts. I'm going to put a few more videos up on the YouTube channel as well, just discussing topics of the week, whatever it happens to be. So please check those out. Check out what the chaps are doing with the Chaps Chat Cats. It's a great time to be a Hoops Crew patron. It's a great time to be a follower of the Hoops Crew YouTube channel. We've got some awesome stuff, so go check all of it out. Until next time, next week, hopefully we're celebrating a win off the back of playing North in Tassie. We'll all be at home. We won't be going into state, so hopefully we'll get post-game live and everything the way everyone wants it. Remain Geelong strong. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you later.